All right, what is up, Utes fans? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest. Let me fix that camera a little bit. That looks a little better. Good to be back with you guys. Excited to be here. So today, I'm really excited about this. This is a video I've kind of been knowing that I've wanted to make for a while now. I wasn't sure if I should make this as its own video or as a live stream. So I'm excited to be doing this with you guys. I'm hoping to hear your opinions. As you come into the video, please do make sure you like it. Gets it out to more Utes fans. Comment, join the chat. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. This might be a little bit of a longer one than usual, which great thing, right? That's not a bad thing. But we should be here for a while. We should have a lot of fun. So make sure you guys join the chat. Comment below whoever you guys think is your most exciting Utes player you want to see this year. So that should be fun. Also, if you guys are Utes fans, please do subscribe to the channel. It goes a long way, and it gives you constant updates as we put out content. The season is 22 days away, and I can tell you I am counting down the days. And please make sure you guys are tuned in because I'm going to ramp up the content as we get closer to the season. But more than that, we're probably going to really ramp it up as the season gets going. I have a lot of fun ideas that I'm excited about. Larry, good to see you in here. Larry says Glover, and Jalen Glover is the guy he's most excited about. Awesome, Larry. Laura, this is from earlier today before I even started the video, but she said, go Utes. Laura, definitely go Utes. And on that note, guys, the number one thing you could do, though, seriously, if you guys really want to support the channel, want to help us out, please share the video. So if you're on Twitter, retweet the video. If you're on Facebook, share it with your favorite Facebook page that you like. However you can share the video, share it with people you know that love the Utes. That goes a long way, and I appreciate it immensely. It's one of my favorite things you guys do. And now let's go ahead and start looking at the players. So we are in for a treat tonight, guys. I got my water so my voice doesn't dry out. All right, and with that, let's go ahead and look at the first position group. The first position group we are going to talk about is the cornerbacks. So cornerbacks is a position group that I've had a lot of different feelings on throughout, the season. We're going to start with a guy named Travis Broughton. A lot of you guys probably know about Travis. He is a guy that is probably going to be one of the two starters on this Utes team. You look here, Pac-12 honorable mention as a sophomore in 2020. Started at left cornerback in the first two games of the season before suffering a season-ending injury. Overall, a solid player. A lot of playing time already for the Utes. Definitely a seasoned guy that should be an impact player here in Travis Broughton. I'm not going to touch too much on each individual player, but just give you guys an idea. So for me, Travis Broughton is an impact player. He's kind of a guy that you're not sure exactly what you're going to get, but you should hope for at least above average corner play from Travis. All right, and now the next player is going to be, let's see, Kane Savage. So Kane Savage, 5'11", 182 pounds, cornerback out of California. Saw action in 9 games last year, got a few tackles. Not a guy that's, really moving the needle overall, but a guy that is a good depth piece, was a 3-star recruit when he came out. He's a sophomore now, so he's got a little bit of, seasoning under him. It's not a guy that is going to be probably a complete liability if you throw him in, but, hasn't seen the field at all. So, I mean, when it comes to real game, very little time. So you wouldn't expect to see this guy making an impact, but I would also say that, he could be a decent depth piece if things get too bad. All right, and now the next guy for corner. Let's take a look here. All right, the one you guys have all been waiting for, Clark Phillips III. Clark Phillips is a straight beast. If you guys aren't aware already, Clark Phillips is one of the best players on this team right now. For me, I probably don't have him in my top 2 or 3 players on the whole team. Not that I don't think he's super good. I just think there's a lot of projection around Clark Phillips, and I think he has potential to be a first round pick. But there were times last year where he struggled. I'm sure a lot of Ute fans don't agree with this take. I'm not going to be surprised if I get a little bit of hate for that. But I'm just going to keep it honest with you guys. I like Clark Phillips a lot. I think he's one of the better corners in the Pac-12. I think there's a lot of pressure on him this year, and the expectations are super high. I really hope the kid lives up to it. I want nothing but the best for him. But I think another guy, when I looked at Travis Broughton, I said above average. I think with Clark Phillips, bare minimum, you're getting a very good player. Is he going to be one of the best cornerbacks in college football next year? Time will tell, right? All right. Now the next guy at corner, we got a lot of players to go through, guys. I'm going to try to go through every single player unless I just lose my voice. So Malone Mattielli, if you guys were watching last year, this guy definitely got some reps. A guy that definitely played a role for the Utes. And with that, saw action 11 game, 5 starts, 28 tackles. And what I love as you guys see this is what I'm really starting to like about this cornerback group is if Clark Phillips and Travis Broughton are the starters, we got a couple guys here that we'll touch on, but Mattielli is one of them that was a legitimate starter last year for the Utes and is going to be coming back and fighting for a starting spot, but also being a really good depth piece. So Mattielli is a starter. It's probably an average starter. But as a depth piece, that's a really, really good depth piece, right? He's a guy that is a very solid tool as a backup corner. If there's an injury, if they're running 3-4 wide receiver sets a lot, this is a guy that you can send out there and he will not be a liability. He will get the job done. All right. Let's put a little music on. That should make this a little more fun. You guys can let me know if it's a little too loud. All right. I don't even know what this music is. It's just random music. So, all right. But let's go ahead and look at the next corner on the list. All right. And the next guy is going to be Fabian Marks, another one of these guys that, is a depth corner piece that you should be excited about. Fabian Marks played a lot last year. He saw action in 10 games, starting 7 before being sidelined due to injury. We had a lot of injuries at corner last year, which has to make you even more excited about the depth we have this year. The guy, I broke down a lot of PFF grades, a lot of games, and I remember looking at Fabian Marks a lot. Coverage grades were not great for Fabian Marks. It was actually pretty rough sometimes for coverage. But for tackling, he's a really good run defense corner, not afraid to get in the box, not afraid to get his hands dirty. So definitely a guy, especially if we're going against a heavy running team or on 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 type situations, short yardage situations, a guy that I wouldn't be surprised to see the field quite a bit. But overall, when you look at just so far, Mattielli, Clark Phillips, Travis Broughton, and what's the other guy? And Marks, and Fabian Marks. So you look at those 4, having that type of depth, like any of those guys could be a serviceable starter at corner, bare minimum, right? And that's just those 4. There's other guys that could be decent, but I'm just letting you know that's one of the things I like most about this cornerback room is how good the depth is. All right, so now the next guy is Jocelyn Alaska. It says Jocelyn, but I think his mom or someone commented on Twitter and said Jocelyn. I think that's how you say it, unless I'm saying it wrong. But with that, so 3-star recruit, number 13 prospect in Oklahoma. Very solid tape for Jocelyn. Looks like a really good player. Obviously a freshman. You don't want to expect too much out of a freshman, but the tape did look good. And I would say if he did need to play in games, I wouldn't be horrified. It's not ideal. You want corners to get a little bit of time to grow, but definitely a guy that could compete for that 4th, 5th cornerback spot. All right. And the next guy is going to be Elisha Lloyd. So Elisha Lloyd is a 3-star recruit. He's a redshirt freshman, did not see any action last year. Super good athlete at 10.8 in the 100-meter as a freshman. So in high school. Definitely a guy that, you know, could have developed. We really don't know. It's more of a wild card. I would say for now, until is proven otherwise, he's probably more of a depth piece. All right. Now the next guy on the cornerback list is Kenzel Lawler. Kenzel has not seen any action in 2 years. He's a redshirt freshman. He was a 3-star recruit coming out of Eleanor Roosevelt High School. You know, it's hard to really know what the guy's going to bring to the table. It's another one of those guys that is a depth piece, but if there's a silver lining here, you definitely don't have any negatives about a guy like this, and you know he's got a couple of years in the same system. So if he did have to go in, I would imagine it wouldn't be a straight nightmare, right? All right, and then the next guy, I think we are almost done with the corners. Nick Howe. Nick Howe, redshirt freshman. You know, hasn't seen any action for the Utes. So for me right now, it's another, you know, basically just a depth guy. And if you're the family or you know these guys that I'm saying a depth guy, it's not to bash them at all. It's just right now we have no positives or negatives. So it doesn't look terrible. All right, and then the final corner is Elijah Davis. Elijah Davis is another freshman. Excuse me. You know, seemed like a solid player. I remember watching him. Definitely looked like there might be a little bit of rust around the edges, but not a terrible player. A guy that looks like he has a good amount of upside. 3-star recruit. We got a lot of 3-star recruits in this cornerback room. So, you know, who knows how some of these second and third year guys have developed. We'll have to see how that goes. All right. And that was the cornerbacks for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed the cornerback breakdown there. We're going to break down every single position on the team, but that gets the first one out of the way. Please go ahead and comment what you guys think of the cornerback room. Do you guys think it's as good as some people think? Do you think it might be, you know, a little overrated? Do you think the depth is as valuable as I think it is? Because for me, the high end is pretty good. Like, you got a Clark Phillips, one of the, you know, supposedly better cornerbacks in the country. And you got Travis Broughton, another, you know, above average corner. And then you have 2, you know, pretty damn good corners behind them. Not amazing guys, but like average guys. If you need them to fill in, they can. And then a bunch of depth there that are kind of wild cards. I like Joshua Alaska as the next guy up. But there's a bunch of guys in there that could be role players. If you guys are enjoying the breakdown so far, please do make sure you like the video. It gets it out to more Utes fans. If you guys are a Utes fan, please do subscribe to the channel. We do content like this all the time. And more than anything, join in the chat. Seriously, this is what makes these live streams fun. I love hearing what your guys' opinions are as I do these breakdowns. So next up, let's talk about the next position group. All right. What is next? Okay. So the next position group is going to be defensive linemen. I'm going to start with the defensive ends. And we'll talk about some D-line. All right. Let's put it up here. Okay, we got a comment in the chat. Larry says, Malone got burned a lot. Hopefully, MM takes a step forward. Vaughn's still on the depth chart. I know we got hurt against Oregon. Vaughn. I think maybe they have Vaughn listed as a safety. Good question. Yep, Zamiah Vaughn's listed as a safety. Good question, though. And he'll be brought up when we get to the safeties. And as we dive into the defensive line, guys, like I said, make sure you like the video. All right, now let's go ahead and start talking about the defensive linemen. The first guy we're going to be talking about is Tyler Wegas. So Tyler Wegas was a 3-star recruit, according to 24/7 Sports. He's a redshirt freshman. He's a COVID redshirt, which means 2020 and 21 he was on the team. Has seen no action. You know, a solid 3-star redshirt guy. It's hard to say exactly what you're going to get from him, but I would imagine a guy that's been in the system for a couple of years. I doubt he would be a liability if he had to go in. So, all right. And if you guys have any information on some of these guys that I'm kind of brushing over, you know, because they haven't played a lot for the Utes, feel free to chime in the chat. Seriously, I'd love to hear what you guys know. So Miki Suguturaga, this guy, so he has seen a little bit of playing time here, so that's a nice sign. So defensive end, 6'4", 264. So played in 2 games in 2020. Seen action at defensive end against Oregon State and Washington State. Action as a reserve in 7 games. Recorded 4 tackles. This is a guy I would compare to like a Kane Savage at DB. It's not a guy that has a ton of experience, but isn't going to be a complete liability if he sees the field. So, and he's a sophomore, has some experience in the system. You never know when it's just going to click for those type of guys. Sometimes it just happens. They figure things out during the offseason. All right, Gabe Reed. So this is an exciting one. Gabe Reed is a transfer from Stanford. I remember I did a video breakdown on this guy, I believe so, but definitely a solid player, Gabe Reed. Good PFF grades. Looks like he's going to be an immediate contributor and has Pac-12 experience, right? Years playing in the Pac-12 and has performed at a pretty high level. I know he's from Stanford, so you never know with that, but he should be playing at a high level and he should be a guy that's either starting or a very strong rotational role right away. So be excited about Gabe Reed. He's someone that's going to make an impact. Tom Moya says, that's for sure. Tom, not sure what you're referring to. I kind of rattled off a lot of stuff there. MW Music says, Junior Tafuna going to be best D-line in the Pac-12. Hey, I'm not going to argue with you, but I'd be nothing but ecstatic if that happened. All right, and then with that, the next guy is Connor O'Toole. So this is a guy that a lot of people are very high on, right? Connor O'Toole is a 3-star recruit, according to 24/7 Sports. I guess he has transitioned from, I think he was a tight end, and he got transitioned to defensive end. So that's kind of fun. He was the #1 recruit in the state of New Mexico, 6'4", 242. This is going to be one where I'm going to say another depth piece, right? I just saw a comment in the chat that made me laugh. Sorry, I'm not going to put it up. It wasn't very polite. But anyway, so with that, a guy, it's going to be a depth piece. I would say with Connor O'Toole, it's your first year playing the end. I would imagine we're not going to see a ton out of you. If you guys know something outside of what I know, feel free to chime in. I would love any inside information you guys have on that. All right. And now the next guy is going to be Helaman Ofenagahu. All right. So this guy's only played 1 year of high school football at Lehigh High School. He's a freshman. Must be a walk-on then. I'm going to go ahead and say a guy that's going to need a couple years to develop. Probably not a guy you would want to see any playing time right away. So walk-on plus the fact that he only played 1 year of high school football. All right. All right, now this next guy. All right, Gavin Nawahine. All right, so this is another guy. Walked on the team in 2020. Has a couple of years under his belt of experience with the team. Definitely a guy you wouldn't. I would say this is a guy that's got a couple of years in the system. Not a guy you'd be excited to see hit the field, but a guy that's like, okay, if he does have to hit the field, hopefully they're keeping him on the team for 3 years for a reason, right? I doubt he's looking straight terrible. Larry says they compare O'Toole to Riley. And then the next guy at defensive line. And remember that we're going over the defensive ends first, and then we'll talk about D tackles. All right. James LeBaron. James LeBaron is another freshman, all-state and all-region defensive lineman at Corner Canyon High School. Must be a walk-on because he was not part of the recruiting class. Sorry, not part of the recruiting class, but, a guy that you're excited about the future. I mean, that's a lot of accolades he has there on the screen, right? Hopefully he develops into something. But you don't want non-scholarship walk-on freshmen seeing a lot of playing time. Robert Hull says, I think the D-line has excellent depth. Hey, I like it a lot too, Robert. And I think a lot of times we do these roster breakdowns, right? It can really open our eyes to some of the guys we might not be considering that much. Like, oh, hey, what about this guy, right? All right, and then the next guy is, let's see. I just want to make sure it's him before I make any comments. Oh, so this is someone I've been super excited about. I don't hide it. One of my favorite players on the team already. I mean, he hasn't really played yet, but he's a freshman. Chase Kennedy, super athletic defensive end, edge rusher. For me, he's a beast. I think he's going to be awesome. So if you guys don't know that much about him, check him out. But a beast in high school, really brings a pass rush presence that we don't always have. So should be pretty awesome. Tom says, I still think this defense is going to be better overall, even with Lloyd gone. It has more balance. Well, and I think we're about to touch on a guy that should make a big impact on this defensive line, and that a lot of us are hoping for a second-year jump with. And here he is. So Van Fillinger, 4-star recruit for the Utes, did pretty damn well last year. In 2021, he started 13 games of defensive end, playing in 14, 41 tackles, 4 quarterback hurries, 9.5 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks. And, I mean, how could you not be excited? This guy's going into his sophomore year with that type of production as a freshman. I think this is going to – and this is not a sleeper pick. I mean, a lot of people think Van Fillinger is going to take a huge step this year. I am definitely one of those people. How big the step is the question, right? He looks jacked, dude. He looked big last year, but this year he looks like ready to do some freaking damage, dog. I'm excited to see this guy hit the field and see how he looks. Said you should allow tips on the channel, homie. Thanks for the great work. Oh, I think you're talking about super chats. Hey, well, I appreciate it, Iris. I don't do super chats now, but I'm thinking as we go into the season, I'll try to figure all that out. It's not like, I think it's something you got to look into. It's not like obvious how to do it. They don't advertise it to you, but I appreciate the kind words, man. Thank you very much. All right, and then with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the next player for defensive end, Jonah Ellis. Jonah Ellis, 6'2", 241 pounds. He had 15 tackles last year, 2 fumble recoveries. If you guys remember, Jonah Ellis was the guy, didn't get a ton of playing time. He was like a real fast, lighter safety or defensive end that really roamed sideline to sideline. So a guy that I wouldn't be surprised to play some sort of rotational role. But I from what I saw last year, obviously who knows how much he improved this year. From what I saw last year, he wasn't a guy that I'd be ecstatic to be getting tons of reps, right? That might not be a good thing. That might mean there's an injury if this guy's out there that much. All right, is that all the defensive ends? Let me double check. No, this is actually one of the guys I talked about in the top 5 freshmen yesterday, or the other day, last week. So Keala Akana, this guy is a monster edge rusher as well. Another guy that could make an immediate impact as a freshman. Obviously, you don't want them getting like tons of reps. Like that means that there's problems if you have tons of, like your freshmen are getting all the reps. But still a guy just like Chase Kennedy, both just mean pass rushers, and hopefully can make an impact as freshmen. All right. And so that was the defensive end portion. And for me, that's definitely up there as one of my favorite groups on the team. I don't know if it's going to make at the end of this, just so you guys know, we'll probably look at like top 2 favorite groups on the team out of everything we looked at, and then top 2 weakest groups on the team out of everything we looked at. To be clear, I don't think we have a lot of weak groups. I'll give you guys that spoiler alert now before we get there. Like, there's not a lot of weaknesses on this team. There are groups that are weaker than others, but there's not a lot of, total weaknesses. And before I go ahead and dive into the D tackles, I just want to remind you guys, please like the video as you guys come in. It goes a long way to help get this out to other Utes fans. We are so close to the season, and I want to build this community and build this channel up as much as we can before we get there. If you guys are big fans of the channel, the number one thing you could do is share the video. So retweet the video, share it with your favorite Utah Utes football Facebook pages, like whatever you can do, share it with your friends, whatever. That goes a long way as well. And please, guys, seriously, join the chat. We got tons of comments in here already. We have a lot of fun. It's a good time. So Make sure you join the chat. Let me know what you guys think of my opinions on some of these players. Maybe you have information I don't, but either way, we have a lot of fun here. So make sure you guys stick around. All right, now let's talk about D tackle. So D tackle is a unique position in this defense. It kind of is a defensive end D tackle hybrid, because sometimes it's a 3-4 defensive tackle. It's just in the middle, and then sometimes it's more of like a 3-4 defensive end. They definitely rotate that in and out. But a lot of D tackles on this roster, and let's go ahead and start with the first one, and a guy named. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the first guy. All right, so Cody Christensen. Not that familiar with this guy. Was an all-state offensive lineman out of Corner Canyon High School. Good high school, right? Everyone knows Corner Canyon and Draper. Really, if you're not in the Utah area, you might not know, but Corner Canyon is like high-level football. Larry says Savage Cabbage is a BYU troll, FYI. Okay, well, we won't feed the trolls. We won't pay him any attention, Larry. And if he keeps going, we can just go ahead and block him. Let me know if he gets out of control. All right, and with that, let's look at Cody. So, a guy, we don't want this guy seeing playing time. No offense to Cody, freshman, walk on, not a guy we want to see playing time, but he comes from a good football program. Hopefully, he'll develop into something over time. All right, and now the next defensive tackle, Aliki Vamahi, played in 10 games, 2 starts, 12 tackles, 3 pass breakups, and a quarterback hurry. So this is awesome to see, right? So this isn't a guy we want to be out there getting tons of the starting reps, but a guy that we're glad we have, right? Maybe he took a step. Maybe he's ready to make an impact. This is the type of players you want to see on the depth chart, that a guy that, if things go bad, can be a solid role player for the defense. But, if he took that next step over the offseason, he could be a solid player for the Utes. So definitely a guy I'm excited to see, hopefully get some rotational time, or he took a step and he's ready to make an impact. All right, so this guy, Braxton Turner, freshman out of Georgetown. He was an offensive lineman at Georgetown and transferred over to Utah. Probably a guy that's going to sit for a little while, learn the defense, develop. So depth piece right there. All right, boom. All right, and then Keanu Tanuvasa. So 3-star recruit in 2019, left on his church mission. He's a freshman this year. So this is exciting, right? Keanu Tanuvasa. When you have a guy that just went on his church mission, it's almost like a double redshirt freshman. You know what I mean? It's like a guy that had a couple of years to mature, to grow, to gain some weight. And he's 6'3". What is that? 281? Is that what that is? Yeah, 281. So that's a big kid. Definitely a guy that could be a role player right away, a rotational player. But either way, we got a few years of this kid hopefully developing into a beast. All right, now the next player at D tackle is going to be Tavita Fotu. So this guy signed with Utah in 2018 before going on his church mission. Last year was his first year on the team. Didn't really see any action, but I mean, you think about it. This kid's not a spring chicken. He's a redshirt freshman that went on a church mission. So this kid's got to be 21 years old. That's in normal terms, that would almost be a senior in college, and he's 6'5", 275. That's a big guy. So, this is a guy that might be someone to keep an eye on for this next year. He might be a guy that you'll see out on the field a little bit. All right, and now the next player. I know defensive tackle is not, the most exciting position in the world, but we are almost done. All right, so this is the guy that everyone wants to talk to. Oh, Larry says Fotu is Lecky Fotu's little brother. Lecky Fotu is a giant person. So that guy might even continue to grow. Who knows? But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. Thanks for the insight, Larry. Junior Tafuna. Junior Tafuna is one of the best returning players for Utah. Kind of an unsung hero last year. But the guy made a big impact at defensive tackle, which is usually like more of one of those positions where you do a lot, but it's not recognized. That's not how Junior Tafuna was last year. Junior Tafuna was like getting sacks, like 5.5 TFLs and 4.5 sacks. He started at D tackle in final 11 contests. You know, a very solid player, and I remember at big moments, right? 3 tackles, you know, 3 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks against Oregon. Junior Tafuna, to me, what really stood out about him last year was that he shined in big moments. So a guy I would expect to be the clear starter at this D tackle spot and should be an impact player for the Utes this year. All right, let's get some water. All right, the next guy. All right, Tennessee Pututau. So this guy, this was unique when I was looking into this. In 2020, played in 5 games. So that's the COVID season. Started in 2, 10 tackles, 3 TFLs, 2 TFLs against Washington State. Last year saw action as a reserve tackle, but he was a 4-star recruit by ESPN. So hopefully Tennessee has had some time to develop, and I would say this is definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Wouldn't be surprised to see him, get a little more action this year. So a lot of talent though, right, guys? Like there's a lot of talent at this D tackle spot. That's definitely something I noticed when I went through it before the video. All right, and then the next guy is Fua Pututau. So I think they're brothers. That'd be my guess. Been on the team for a few years, since 2018. Played in 3 games last year. Not a ton of action. More of a depth guy. Hopefully he's put in the work in the off season and, could take a jump this year. I think that might be all the D tackles. Let me just triple check. Oh no, not quite. I got a couple more guys. All right, so the next guy is Sumodi Pipa. Damn, this is a big kid. 6'3", 345 pounds. He was reserve action, and he's going to be a redshirt freshman this year. That type of size, knowing this defense, this guy is going to be a red zone D tackle. Like we have a red zone defense out there. This guy, you put him in the middle, let him clog up the holes, and let him, squeeze the gaps. So that's what I would expect to see from this kid, and I would expect him to see playing time. So that's awesome. But I also think you look at how big some of these D tackles are. I mean, we got stacks of them. Like if these guys want to, try to run in 3rd and 2, or bring out a goal line offense against a goal line defense, they're gonna have a bad time. That's especially in the Pac-12. I don't think there's too many teams that can hang with the physicality here. Larry says Kafusi. Yep, Larry, I got him on the list. He was one of the guys I noticed I didn't talk about. I'll bring him up here in a second. Robert says we should be able to keep a fresh D line in the games. Yeah, those big boys get tired real quick, and having stacks and stacks of them that you can, rotate in and out, keep them fresh. That's a really good point, Robert. All right, and then the next guy is going to be Devin Kafusi. So Devin Kafusi is a beast, right? Devin Kafusi is a beast. 6'7", 283 pounds. A guy that I have heard really good things about in the offseason for some of the people I talked to. He played 14 games last year, 2 starts at D tackle, 13 tackles, 1.5 TFLs, 5 tackles against San Diego State. Solid player last year. Like I said, I'm hearing really good things that this could be a guy to keep an eye on to make a big jump in 2022. All right. And that was the D tackles, the D ends. That was the defensive linemen. I hope you guys are enjoying the video so far. If you haven't already, please do like the video, guys. It goes a long way. I know it gets annoying that I keep saying that, but it really does help get you guys to like the video. If you guys would all just like the video right when you hop in, I would never do it. So, and make sure you guys join the chat. Seriously, that I try to address all your guys' comments, and I think the chat's really fun. There's some videos where this chat is just going off. It's a good time. All right, and then with that, let's go ahead and look at the next position group. I'm not going to go over kicker or punter. Not that that's not important. I just feel like that's a little less exciting. But let's go ahead and talk about the next position group. So the next position group is one that is a very unique position group. Honestly, it is hard for me to put an exact grade or an exact expectation on this group, and that's going to be the linebacker group. So really good group of players, like a lot of depth. Let's go ahead and dive in and let's start looking at them. I don't want to make any statements yet because sometimes as I'm breaking these position groups down, it can be eye-opening a little bit about some people I haven't considered. So Mason Tufaga, linebacker, redshirt freshman out of Honolulu. You know, he was redshirt last year, didn't see any action, but he was the number 2 recruit in the state of Hawaii last year. Number 15 inside linebacker. Not last year, but 2 years ago. So the 2021 recruiting class. And he's a 4-star recruit. So that's a guy, you know, nobody's talking about really. Could be a dark horse to make a big impact there. Larry says linebacker room is insane. There are a lot of good young players in this linebacker room. Larry, I'll just kind of comment on my thoughts on the linebacker room real quick. I think there's a lot of talent in here. My only concern with the linebacker room is who's the guy? You know what I mean? Like every position group so far, I feel like we've had a guy that's like, that's the guy. That's the guy we're looking at. Like he's going to be a stud this year. I don't think linebacker has that, which is my only concern. But when we're talking about depth and average grade per player, linebacker room may be the best group in the entire class, you know, on the roster. The question is, who's the guy? Who's the stud? Who's the not Devin? Obviously, you don't need to know Devin, or you don't need to know. There's no Devin Lloyd in the room, and there's no just clear guy that's going to be the impact player. I know a lot of people say Mahmoud Diabate. I've looked at the PFF grades on this guy. You know, I hope for the best. I want him to be a stud, but I'm just not sure if I'm buying into it yet. All right, so the next guy is going to be Malai Tanuvasa. All right, so this guy is 6 foot, 181 pounds. That is tiny for a linebacker, freshman out of Sky Ridge. Guy that's going to need a few years to develop before he's ready to make an impact. All right. So the next guy is going to be Karine Reed. So if there's any argument for any of the returning players from last year that could be that guy that I was just hinting at, right? Like a big time impact player, I'd say Karine Reed might be the guy. And I think some people look at Karine Reed with rose-colored glasses after last year. Karine Reed had really good times. He had times where he was one of the best players on the field. He also had times where he was one of the worst players on the field. You can't just paint one part of that picture. He was a liability at times. And to be fair, I have very high expectations for him. Last year, I think there was a lot of hype after 2 good games, and it led to us remembering him maybe a little more fondly than it actually played out. And I want to be clear, I think he's going to be a stud. Like he had this 15 tackle game against Washington State. You want to see that. You want to extrapolate on that and see that, 8+ tackle games happen all the time. But I just want to be clear. I think a lot of people are acting like this guy's going to be a monster. And probably, for me at least, the most confidence I have that someone's going to be an impact player in this linebacker room is Karine Reed. All right, and then the next guy, and just there's a lot of name recognition in here, guys. These are not like unknown players. There's a lot of good players in this linebacker room. All right, and so Justin Medlock, if you guys aren't familiar with him, I did a recruiting video on Justin Medlock, 6 foot, 220 pounds, freshman, 3-star recruit. really good football instincts. Not a huge guy, but really good football instincts, and a guy that if he did need to go out there, even as a freshman, I would feel reasonably confident that he would do a good job. Not a guy that I would be concerned about if he had to go out there and play. So solid player, but hopefully is more of a depth piece and a guy that can grow as the season goes. All right, next guy at linebacker is all right. All right, Andrew Mateafa. So Andrew saw 13 games last year. He had 5 tackles and a pass breakup. So he's a junior this year. You got to love this guy's got quite a few years, 4 years in the system. I wouldn't expect him to be any sort of star, but I also wouldn't say that he's a bad player or anything like that. A good depth piece that you would not be upset if he has to go in there and make plays. But to be clear, we don't know who's going to be the torchbearer in this linebacker room, guys. Like, I think a lot of people are acting like they know who the guys are. I don't think anyone really knows. It's they basically, this is similar to another position group I'll touch on later, but they brought a bunch of talent into a room. They stirred up the pot and they want to see what comes out on the other end. Jack says, so experience is more of an indicator than talent in the linebacker room. No, Jack. So experience is really important. You don't play Division I football unless you're talented, right? Like you have to be talented to play Division I football. And having a lot of talent is really important. But if you aren't able to cultivate that talent into solid, consistent play, then I wouldn't say that I'm going to rely on you to be an immediate starter. I don't know if that answered the question exactly, Jack, but I think experience, there's some experience in this room and there's a lot of talent in this room, Jack. I just don't know if the talent in this room is ready to be well-rounded, immediate impact type of talent. Like there's a lot of guys that do a lot of different things well, but a lot of youth and one-dimensional type of skill sets right now. All right. The next guy is going to be Hayden Fury. So this is a guy that is not talked about a lot by most Utah, football places or whatever. He graded out really well according to PFF. He started in 4 games, played in 14, had 13 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 pass breakups. So Hayden Fury is a really good coverage linebacker. He hopefully has grown in some areas of the rest of the game, like pass rush and run stop, but coverage wise, he's really solid. And he's a dark horse guy. He's going to be a junior this year, and he's really a dark horse guy for me to be an impact player and someone that no one's talking about that could be one of the starters from this linebacker room. All right. All right. And the next guy is Leilani Langi, 6'2", 212 pounds, red shirt freshman, 3-star recruit, number 4 prospect in the state. Could be a really good player, a red shirt guy. We don't know what he's going to look like this year, but I would say worst case should be a solid depth player. All right. And the next guy. All right. I feel like I've made myself out to be a hater on this guy, which I'm really not. I think he's going to be an impact player. I just feel like I don't think he's going to be an impact player in the way that some people see. But who knows? I mean, so Mohamed Diabate, I don't know if I've heard a lot of people say Mahmoud, but it looks like Mahamud, however you say it. So the 6'4", 222 pounds, really good pass rush grade. Should be a player that rushes the passer really well from the linebacker position. I absolutely expect to see sacks from this guy, expect to see pressures on quarterbacks from this guy. The question is the other 2 grades, the coverage and the run stopping grades. They were quite low. They were not good grades. And, coaching goes a long way. I think Utah shows that more than any other school, how important coaching is. The question, though, is how much can you do with coaching in one offseason. So hopefully he comes in, is a superstar for the Utes. My only concern is that he might be more of a one-dimensional asset than people are making him out to be. So, all right, now the next guy is Josh Calvert. So Josh Calvert, 6'2", 225 pounds, linebacker out of transferred from Washington, or I don't know. But anyway, so appeared in one game on the season, making his Utah debut in the Stanford win. Number 15 linebacker nationally. Tough call to say what this guy's going to bring to the table. Wasn't a big role player last year, but either way, sounds like should be a solid depth piece. All right, and the next guy is Ethan Calvert. So Ethan Calvert, this is a unique one, right? Ethan Calvert, a bad injury, if I'm remembering it correctly, that kind of took him out for a while. But 6'1", 215 pounds. He was a redshirt last year, 4-star recruit, number 4 inside linebacker in the country, and number 6 overall recruit in California. A guy that a lot of people have high hopes for, and I've heard good things about his recovery. So I guess we'll see how that goes there. But I would imagine worst case is a good depth guy. Best case could be one of the starters. That probably a guy that's in that competition for one of those starting linebacker roles. All right, and then one of the guys that everyone is excited about is Lander Barton, 6'4", 230 pounds, 4-star recruit, number 2 recruit in the state of Utah, and number 17 linebacker nationally. Has the NFL bloodlines. Expectations are through the roof with this kid. I think Lander has an absolute chance to come out here and be a starter right away. I think the bigger question is that realistic? I mean, I wouldn't bank on it. I think it could happen for sure. My thing with Lander is I think mid-season to later in the season, he'll be an impact player. It takes a little while as a freshman to get your feet wet. So we'll see with him. I think that is all the linebackers. Let me just triple check that I didn't forget anybody. Yeah, I think I got them all, unless anyone's thinking of someone I forgot. Yep, I think we got them all. But anyway, so that was the linebacker room. If you guys are enjoying the breakdown so far, please make sure you guys like the video. Also, comment into the chat. Questions are more than welcome. You can agree or disagree. I'm not going to have my feelings hurt. Also, if you guys are big Utes fans, seriously subscribe to the channel. I am going to be putting this content out for a long time. So, and it's almost time, guys. We're going to be doing a breakdown before and after each game. I can tell you, if you are a Utes fan, I don't know who else is doing this. So please do subscribe to the channel. All right, but anyways, so let's talk about the next position group. Let me just get this out of here. All right, and with this next position group, we are going to be looking at offensive line. So for me, this is one that I get excited about. I'm kind of a offensive line guy. I didn't really play offensive line outside of high school or like middle school, but I do enjoy looking at the offensive line. And for me, as I went through the entire list here, I was actually pleasantly surprised, right, about the offensive line room. I think it looked pretty good. You said still interested in kicker, punter, and all special teams. Hey, I get it. My thing is, if I started telling you guys about kickers and punters, I wouldn't know what I was talking about. You get what I'm saying? I know we got that guy from Australia or something like that to be a punter. So hopefully he works out. I really don't know much about it. Zach says linebacker position is the most stacked position. Also, I definitely don't think you're giving cornerback Clark Phillips enough credit. Him and Cam Rising are the best players in the team. Hey, well, and just so you know, Zach, I don't disagree with you. The linebacker's the most stacked position on the team. I was kind of hinting at it that I don't disagree with that. I think there's tons of talent at linebacker. I think the issue with linebacker is kind of what I've been saying, is that there's no clear guys, and it could be a bad thing for a few games. as we hit that midseason, maybe we're past that. But I worry about it that we have a guy in Karine Reed that had flaws last year, like big flaws and big time bad games last year. But he also looked great in some games. And then we have some transfer talent, some young guys that haven't had a lot of playing time. I feel like a lot of people are making this out to be a position group that's really good when it's a little untested, in my opinion. But Zach, I also know that's an unpopular opinion. I try to agree with you guys when I do, but I also don't want to hide my opinions. Clark Phillips, I don't know if I described it in the best way. I do agree that Clark Phillips is really good. My only thing is, like, you look at the PFF grades at the end of last year, they weren't elite PFF grades. Obviously PFF grades aren't everything, but I just worry that people might be putting a little too much on his shoulders. I hope he's a first-round pick. I hope he's a beast. I'm not positive that he's one of the best cornerbacks in college football. I think he's one of the best cornerbacks in the Pac-12 for sure, though. Scrub says maybe a separate vid on special teams. Well, I guess maybe I'll do that. Honestly, Scrub, I'm going to be honest. It's probably not going to happen. I really don't want to do a whole video on special teams. I'm sorry, man. If you want to send me any info, I'll chat about it for a minute, but I don't really know enough about it. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the offensive line. So the first guy on the offensive line that we're going to talk about is Zeru Williams. So 3-star recruit. In 2021, he saw action in 2 games in 2021, playing on special teams, but really not much action. He's 6'8", 302 pounds, redshirt freshman. You don't know what you're getting with this guy, but he was a 3-star recruit, had a year to develop, could be a good depth piece here. Outside of that, it's kind of an unknown with a guy like this. So next guy is going to be Tanoa Togiai. So this guy has been on the team since 2020, 3-star recruit, number 3 recruit in the state of Idaho, but looks really good. So 6'6", 318 pounds, redshirt freshman. Another guy, solid depth piece, has had a couple of years in the system, has been able to spend some time developing. Who knows where he's at, but hopefully could be a guy that if he did have to see some time, wouldn't be a liability and should be able to come in and, be at least a serviceable offensive lineman. And when we're talking about offensive linemen, guys, a lot of it is looking for serviceable guys. You don't need a superstar offensive lineman. You want 5 solid guys. That's the trick to offensive line. It's not about having one really good guy. It's about having 5 decent guys. And then hopefully some of those 5 are pretty damn good. All right. And now the next guy is Keith Olson. So if you guys watched the video I did talking about the top 5 freshmen that can make an impact this year, Keith was on this list. Now I know offensive line is one of the toughest positions to make an impact as a freshman, but Keith's tape was awesome. He's very strong. He's big for a freshman coming in, right? He's 6'6", 306 pounds. Has the size to make an immediate impact. It's unlikely that he would have to play, and that's probably not the ideal situation unless he just is that good and is beating people out in practice. But definitely a guy that I would imagine can be at least a good backup right away. All right. Now Keaton Bills. Keaton Bills started in 8 games at left guard. This is a guy I would expect to be a starter this year, if not be in very, very strong competition for a starting spot. 6'4", 314 pounds. Should be a solid player for the Utes. 2 years, 2019 to 2020. 2019, he was redshirt, played on offensive line in 3 games. In 2020, he started 4 games. This guy, a lot of experience. I'd say more likely than not, I would expect Keaton Bills to be a starter. So, all right. Now the next guy, Michael Mokofisi, 6'4", 321 pounds. That is gigantic. 3-star recruit, number 11 recruit in Utah in 2021. Another guy, a year in the system, a year to develop, a year to grow, should be a good depth piece. But a lot of the time with these guys, who knows what they're showing behind the scenes? Who knows? Maybe they look great. But I'm saying, like, either way should be a solid depth piece, whether he looks great or not. Okay, so this is another guy that should be an impact player this year. So Paul Miley, 6'2", 304 pounds, junior for the squad. He's been on the team since 2018, so very familiar with the system. 3-star recruit. Played in 2 games in 2020, saw action in 8 games in 2019, played in 2 games on the offensive line in 2018. In 2021, kind of got his first real go at it. Spaced out. So saw action in 5 games in 2021, started in 4. A decent player for the Utes, a guy that should be a starter, if not be in strong contention for a starting position. And you're going to hear me say this a few times. The offensive line group is definitely not bad. I was pleasantly surprised as I went through the different players on here. All right, and now the next guy. All right. All right, Johnny Maea. So Johnny has been on the team since 2019. Has started games for the Utes before, but not recently. Been more of a reserve role. He is a junior this year, 6'4", 312. I'd say a very solid depth piece is the vibe I get from this guy. All right, Hunter Lotulele. So has not seen action in any of the 2 years he's been on the Utes, but was a 4-star recruit, number 6 player in the state of Utah in 2020 when he came to the Utes. He's a redshirt freshman. He's still got a lot of time to play for the Utes. I would say a guy that it's tough because, coming in, he had such high recruiting rankings, but you haven't seen him do anything for 2 years. I would say a guy that I would be 50-50 on if this guy becomes an impact player or not. He could stay in the shadows, but maybe the talent's starting to get there, right? Offensive line can take years to develop. Like, you guys got to remember, not everyone's, Jalen Glover or Caleb Williams. You know what I mean? Like, they're just killing it their freshman year. A lot of these guys take a few years to develop. So another really solid depth piece, but a guy that I wouldn't be shocked if he was in the competition for a starting role conversation, if that makes sense. Okay, this guy, this is someone you guys should be excited about. Seteoa Laumea, 6'4", 308 pounds, 18 starts for the Utes, 19 career games, started the last 13 games at right guard. If you guys remember that hit against UCLA when the guard pulls and runs over the linebacker, it is this guy. It is Laumea. He is very good. Grades out well as well. A guy that I would imagine absolutely in contention for a starting role, if not a locked-in starter. Guy I'm high on. So, all right, and then we go to the next guy. All right, where are you at? All right, Jaron Kump. So another really good player on this offensive line. 6'5", 309 pounds, 9 career games, played 6 at right tackle, 3 at left tackle, versatile player. Last year started in 4 games, 3 at left tackle, 1 at right tackle before a season-ending injury. Another guy I'd be surprised if he's not starting. I don't want to lock any of these guys in as starters because there's one that'll obviously be locked in as a starter that we're getting probably close to talking about him. But it's a lot of talent on this offensive line. Going to be a lot of good competition. And with that, let's go to the next guy. All right, Tyler Knack. So 6'6", 305 pounds, 3-star prospect. So a guy when I watch this film, I like the kid. I think he's got really good potential. Raw tools though, right? Not a lot of football in not a lot of offensive line in his background. Now I remember. Yeah, he played defensive line. So should be a good player for the Utes. With him though, I think it's going to take a year or two because of such little offensive line experience. Needs to work on the technique. The bright side, though, is this kid has been in at the Utes facility as early as he could possibly enroll. And that's great. He's with the team. He's building chemistry. I'd say hopefully a guy we don't see get too many reps this year. If he does and he does a good job, great. But I would imagine probably a guy we want at least another year of experience before he starts getting any reps out there on the field. All right, now the next guy. All right. So Falcon Kaumatuli, 6'8", 301 pounds out of Bishop Gorman. Bishop Gorman, if you guys aren't aware, I'm from Las Vegas originally, and Bishop Gorman is a very, very high-powered football school. You have to be very good to play in Bishop Gorman. So this guy's been on the team for 3 years. Academic honor roll. I know that doesn't mean much for the field, but it does tell you he has his head on straight, right? But the guy's been on the team for 3 years, has a lot of experience with the program, has a lot of experience in the system. So very solid depth piece. All right, and then the next guy at offensive line is going to be, all right, Alex Harrison. Alex Harrison, 6'4", 315 pounds, sophomore, 3-star recruit in 2020. Been on the team for 2 years. No action in 2020. Saw some special teams reps in 2021. A guy been on the team for 2 years, another system guy. Hopefully, he's a solid depth piece. Not much else to say there. All right, now Ridge Harrell. So Ridge Harrell, 6'4", 303 pounds. Offensive lineman out of Denver, Colorado. Prior to Utah. Okay, so this is going to be his first season. This is a walk-on freshman guy you're going to want to see develop. Hopefully he's not taking snaps with starting reps. All right, now the next guy at O-line. Kolinu Fayu. Some of these names are tough. All right, 6'3", 319 pounds. That's a thick boy. I'm guessing he's a guard. 3-star recruit. Been on the team for a year since 2021. Solid depth piece. And honestly, when you consider how many guys already I feel like are in competition for starting roles, if any of these other guys outside of them are, even decent, like they can compete for starting roles, you should feel really good about this offensive line. All right, so Hunter Duell, another freshman walk-on, 2-year letter winner in football at American Fork. Hopefully this isn't a guy that sees a ton of reps this year. Hopefully he takes some time to develop. All right, man. All right, final guy. The man himself, Braden Daniels, 6'4", 297 pounds, 29 starts for the Utes, 18 at left guard, 11 at right tackle, one of the best tackles in the entire country. Braden Daniels is a beast. He is a locked-in starter. I don't see any way Braden Daniels is not a starter. Right up there with any player talent-wise on this team. Very, very good player. All right, and that is the offensive line. So we've been going for a while here, guys. We still got a couple of positions left before it is all said and done. So I hope you guys are having fun so far. Looks like we still have a good group of people in the viewing the video. So excited to keep going with you guys. We got a couple more left. If you guys haven't already, please do like the video. If you guys are a big Utes fan, subscribe to the channel. We're going to have a lot of Utes content coming your way. Share the video with your friends. Share the video on Twitter. Share the video on Utah football Facebook pages. Whatever you use to absorb your content, use it to share it with other people. So with that, though, let's go ahead and dive into the next position group. And that is a fun one. So quarterback. Quarterback is one that should be fairly quick, but also, a fun group to look at. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first guy here. Brandon Rose. So Brandon Rose, a lot of talent with this guy. Not a super, mobile quarterback. He was kind of mobile in high school, but he wasn't super fast, if that makes sense. So I would doubt that he's going to be a huge weapon with his legs, but really, really good arm, real good pocket passer. Probably not a guy I would expect to see any starting time anytime soon. We have so many damn good quarterbacks in this room. All right, and now the next guy we're going to look at is Luke Batari. This guy I was unfamiliar with until I was going through this. I had never heard of this guy, so I really don't know enough. And seems like he just transferred out of College of San Mateo. Sounds like he was pretty good at College of San Mateo, but I don't know anything about him. I doubt he's going to be in the top 3 quarterbacks on the depth chart. All right, and now the next guy. All right, the next quarterback, Cameron Rising. How do you say that? No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I know who Cam Rising is. So 6'2", 218 pounds, right up there as one of the best players on this team. Cam Rising is a beast. So I heard someone explain it on a video I watched the other day where they said, like, there's no one thing that Cam Rising brings to the table that he's like better than everyone else at. He's just a football player. He just makes plays. That's what he does. And I think that's such a great way to describe him. Really good in the clutch, really dependable guy. There's no, like, legitimately probably no one else in college football I would want with 30 seconds on the clock and we got to drive down the field. Nobody more than Cam Rising. All right. Now we go to the next guy, Nate Johnson. So Nate Johnson is a very highly touted freshman quarterback coming in this year, dual threat quarterback, number 16 quarterback nationally last year, 6 foot, 191 pounds. If you guys aren't aware of Nate Johnson, I don't know where you've been. He is really, really talented, really fast, really mobile, great runner, great arm. A guy that honestly could compete for the second string spot this year. I think it's a little bit of a long shot, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if Nate Johnson's competing for the second string spot. He's very, very talented, and his tape didn't feel like there was that much to work on. It was really good tape. There's to be the number 16 quarterback nationally, you got to be pretty damn good. So I wouldn't be surprised if this guy's the backup. And honestly, as much as I like some of the other guys that are going to be in that conversation, I like him just as much, if not more. So, but you haven't seen him play college football, so that's a question that only the coaching staff would know when they see him at practice. Jaquindon Jackson. So Jaquindon Jackson, 6'2", 227, redshirt freshman. A guy that last year, he was a 4-star prospect, I believe, coming out of high school. Seems really solid. A lot to develop, though. I feel like he's a really good runner. Jack says the QBs at Utah have gotten so much better over the last 5 to 10 years. Yeah, I agree a lot. We have a lot of good quarterbacks coming in. I would say right now I can't imagine too many quarterback rooms in the country as deep as ours. It really is a good quarterback room. Jaquindon Jackson, really good with his feet, solid decision maker, solid arm. Definitely a guy I wouldn't good player. I feel like, I'm not sure how to word it, just every time I see him take the field, there's like an uncomfortability. It's just he doesn't feel smooth out there when he's playing. And I'm not saying he's like, nervous as all hell. I'm just saying, like, it feels like that there's something missing. Like the comfortability is missing. I don't know what that means, honestly. I know, when you see it. It's just like with Cam Rising. You can't put your finger on exactly what he's great at, but when you need him to do something, he gets it done. I feel like Jaquindon Jackson has a lot of tools, but that ability, like that type of thing that Cam Rising have, where you just have faith that he's going to make a play when it needs to be made, I don't think Jaquindon's there yet. So he's right up there with anyone else, though, that I want being the backup. There's stuff I hope we see from him this year, and I hope he's showing in practice. He did look solid in the spring game, but still, like I said, more to be desired. All right, Bryson Barnes. he was awesome in the Rose Bowl. He came in and filled in for Cam Rising, 6'1", 206 pounds. You know, this guy's a sophomore, very talented player. He doesn't have a ton of raw skills throwing the ball. He doesn't have like that huge arm, but he is mobile. He's pretty athletic. He can make plays. He can cut in and out of traffic. And more than anything, I'd say just like Jaquindon has a lot of the tools that this guy might not have. This guy has the gamer. Like he has the scramble out and, throw it 30 yards down the field. He has that in him. So I'd probably say if I like anyone the most for the backup, it'd be Bryson Barnes. All right, so that is the quarterback position. We got a couple positions left. We are on the final stretch, though, guys. Actually, we got a few left, so we might be here a little while longer. But I'm committing to you guys. We're gonna get it done. I might jump out of here to get some water, but I'm committing to you guys. So with that, let's go ahead. Before I get to the next position, please do like the video, guys. It goes a long way. Also, comment in the chat. I got a bunch of people watching here. We got a good stack of people watching. But I would also say, why don't you guys join in the chat? Jack says, I feel like Barnes is a step up from Drew Lisk. Yeah, Jack and I are the only ones chatting. So make sure you guys hop in. And also subscribe to the channel, guys. The content's just going to get more and more frequent as we get closer to the season. And on that note, let's go ahead and jump into the next position group. Another really fun one. Running back is going to be the next position group to talk about. All right, we got a lot of good players at running back. All right, and let's talk about some of them. So the first one we are going to look at, and just so you guys know, there's a lot of running backs. Some of them, more likely to get reps than others. So I'm going to take that into account on how much time I spend on them. All right, so Faisal Aiden, 5'8", 208 pounds. Been on the team for 3 years. Hasn't seen a ton of time on the field, but does have 3 years in the system. Probably wouldn't be a liability if he ever did have to take some reps. But at running back, it's not always as much about the system fit as it is about your raw athleticism. Like, yeah, you want them to know the system, but you want playmakers at running back. So I would say probably not a guy we'd want to see taking a ton of reps. We got the man himself, Tavion Thomas, 6'2", 238 pounds. Right up there as one of the best players on this team. One of the most criminally underrated players in the country right now. Honestly, when someone puts out a top 10 running back list without Tavion Thomas on the list, I just shake my head. I get it. It's 1 year. It's one really big year. But it was a hell of a year. This guy was running that rock, getting touchdowns anytime a touchdown was available. I expect him to follow it up with another great season. I don't know if he'll get the volume of touches he got last year because there's just so much talent in this room. But he is as good as any running back in the country. All right. Now the next one. So the next running back is Charlie Vincent. Been on the team a few years. He saw action on special team in 9 games, 5'10", 199 pounds. Not too much to say here. Not a guy you'd love to see the field too much. In worst case, at least he has a few years in the program. All right, and the next guy is Elvis Vakapuna. Elvis 5'7", 215. Played at Bingham, walk-on in 2020. Been on the team a couple of years, but again, probably not a guy you'd want to see a ton of reps. All right. Ricky Parks. So Ricky Parks, 5'10", 210 pounds, 4-star recruit. Did not see action in 2021. A guy that a lot of people are high on. I get this comment a lot when I talk about running backs is Ricky Parks. Very explosive guy. A guy that I wouldn't be surprised if before the season's over works himself into some sort of rotation. I wouldn't bank on it because this is a really good running back room. It could be another year or two before he's really one of the guys in the stable. But either way, should eventually become a name that you should be familiar with. But a solid player, a very good player either way. And I wouldn't be shocked if he starts making an impact this year. All right, the next guy is Jonathan Johnson, 6'1", 259 pounds. Geez, that guy's big. And with that, he's a walk-on freshman. I mean, I would say, maybe he'd get that goal line work, but I'd be shocked if anyone besides, looks like some sort of crazy person was in the chat. But I'd be shocked if anyone besides Tavion got that goal line work. That's his bread and butter, right? All right. And the next guy is Jalen Glover. If you guys don't know, well, now you know. 5'7", 207 pounds, 3-star recruit out of Lake Gibson High School. One of the best films that I have watched looking at recruiting videos. This guy is dynamic. He is explosive. His acceleration is off the charts. I've said it a million times. Reminds me of Maurice Jones-Drew. Very powerful, very hard to bring to the ground. And if you give him any space, you are going to regret it, and he is going to burn you for a 50-plus yard touchdown. A guy that I expect to be a tandem in this backfield this year. He's going to be one of the 3 or 4 guys getting some carries. Who knows how much of the role he takes, but I will be shocked if he's not averaging at minimum 3+ carries a game. So the next guy to take a look at is going to be Chris Curry. Chris Curry saw some time last year, right? 18 carries for 88 yards. Had a fumble, up and down a little last year in a few carries. He's a transfer from LSU. A guy that I wouldn't be shocked either if he is, in that rotation as well. I wouldn't say it's a good thing or a bad thing if he's in the rotation. If it's a good thing if he took the next step and he's ready. Let's hope he is. So DJ and Tay says Glover is going to be explosive and a game changer next year, if not this year. Yep, that's exactly how I feel, DJ and Tay. The only reason Jalen Glover wouldn't be a big-time impact player this year is because there's just so much talent in that running back room. All right, now the next guy we're looking at for running back is going to be – all right, final guy, Mekhi Bernard. Mekhi Bernard is really good, right? He is a guy that was – I felt like it was weird to me that TJ Pledger was the one of these guys that went pro because I like Mekhi Bernard and Tavion Thomas better. So, he is super good. A guy, a bunch of all-purpose yards, great receiving back, great running back, just the kind of guy that you just want the ball in his hands. You want to get the ball in his hands. He's a really talented player, does so much, and is just a really good football player. He will absolutely be a weapon at the slot, a weapon in the backfield. You guys probably already know that Mekhi Bernard's really good. So Larry says, hard to believe Curry didn't get more plays. Yeah, I felt like there were times where he could have made more of what he was given with the holes that were available and the plays over there. But I agree. I wouldn't be mad if Chris Curry plays a bigger role. Robert says, Curry had some nice carries last year in a very limited role. Yeah. He also had some not so nice carries, but yeah, he did have some nice carries. All right. Now let's go ahead and look at the next position. All right. Okay, so the next position group is going to be safety. All right. All right, let me put it up here. So the first guy is going to be R.J. Hubert. So R.J. Hubert has been on this team for 4 years, was a reserve in the Rose Bowl, had, played a decent amount in 2019 and 2018, played in 2020, but really didn't see much action last year in 2021. I have heard a lot of people talk about RJ. as a guy that could be a playmaker this year. But I mean, worst case, an average backup, like a good backup safety and an average starter if needed. So definitely a guy you got to be excited is on the team. All right, and then the next guy is Clayton Isbell. Clayton Isbell is very good, everybody. He is a freshman transfer from Illinois State. Really hard hitting safety. Very, like, seriously, if you guys haven't watched the video I did breaking down his tape, you should give it a go after we finish up here. Really hard hitter, really talented safety. A guy that I am expecting to make some sort of impact this year and definitely compete for a starting role. Jack said Bernard was a bright spot on the offense in the BYU game. It's exactly how I feel. I feel like if you watch that BYU game, Bernard kept us in it. I mean, Bernard would put the team on his back at times, dude. Broke like 8 tackles in one play. So I feel you there, Jack. Larry says, against BYU, Brewer couldn't throw. Thomas couldn't hold in the ball, and Bernard was the bright spot. Oh, exact same thing Jack said. Yep. Yeah, Bernard was the man in that BYU game. I was not a fan of Tavion Thomas after that BYU game, and I was a big fan of Bernard after that BYU game. It's crazy how that kind of worked out as the rest of the season went on. All right, so that was Clayton Isbell. And now the next safety for us is Brock Nowatzki. So Brock is a freshman, walk-on freshman, a guy you just hope doesn't have to see the field, but take some time to develop and become a good player for the Utes. And that's, just so you guys know, unless it's some sort of superstar walk-on freshman, that's going to be the case with any walk-on freshman at any position. So Jaden Pearson is a sophomore, 6'3", 200 pounds, a transfer, very good player. Honestly, this safety room, as I'm going through here, I forgot just how freaking stacked this safety room is. Yeah, I mean, these first 4 players we just looked at, guys, so we're all on the same page, these are all starters on almost any team in the country. Seriously, these are all really good players. RJ Hubert, debatable, but like these other 3 guys are very talented players. All right, and the next guy is going to be Bryson Reeves. Bryson Reeves, 6'1", 203 pounds, 3-star recruit last year in 2021. A guy that has a year in the system, solid depth piece. Probably not going to be competing for a starting role right away, though. All right, next guy. All right, Darian Blue Stewart, 6 foot, 190 pounds, redshirt freshman, number 7 recruit out of Nevada. So pretty decent. I mean, Nevada puts out some pretty solid recruits. Good player there. But again, just like the last guy, hopefully he gets to sit for another year and develop a little more before he sees the field. But worst case, he probably wouldn't be a straight liability if he has to go out there. All right, Sione Vaki. I know this is someone a lot of people are excited about. So freshman, 3-star recruit. I believe he's just getting back from his mission. Could be so a senior in 2018. So he is old to be a freshman. A guy that could be a big-time player this year. Guys, this freaking safety room, am I right? Am I the only one feeling this as we go through each of these players? Like, damn. And this is a good group. So a guy that, is probably competing for a starting role as we speak. Larry says, Nate Ritchie will be back after next year. Kid's a beast. Isbell going to be a star. Yeah, dude. I mean, not just Isbell. Think about how many guys we've listed off, Larry. I mean, these are good players. If you have a nickname as a redshirt freshman, better be pretty good. DJ Tay says, Blue, because he had the nickname Blue. If you have a nickname as a redshirt freshman, you better be pretty good. Yeah, hopefully the name Blue's for a good reason. I don't even know what that's about. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the next safety. Bam. All right. Zamaya Vaughn. Zamaya Vaughn, pretty good player, above average starter, I'd probably say. 6'2", 178 pounds. 4 starts last year. Played a lot. I thought did reasonably well in the Rose Bowl. honestly, guys, as I'm going through this, I think safety is going to be one of the two groups that I put as the best position groups. Just so we're all on the same page. Because we haven't even talked about the guy, and I'm about to talk about him, but think about how stacked this safety room already is without this guy. Cole Bishop, 6'2", 206 pounds, played in 10 games, started the final 6. Cole Bishop established himself at the end of last year as one of the best run stuffing safeties in the country. He has to work on his coverage, and hopefully that's really been a focus over the offseason. But this kid hits hard and is great against the run. Scary to throw over the middle if this guy is anywhere near the receiver. Really good player. Cole Bishop should be locked in as a starter. And then we have a group of 5 or 6 really good players competing for the other spot. That's awesome. Honestly, am I the only one that felt I knew it was a good group, but I felt like I didn't know it was that good? Am I the only one that felt that way? I know you guys are following along here. It really felt great. But anyway, so if you guys are just jumping into the video, make sure you like it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're going to be putting out this content all season. We are so close to the Utes season. So I would imagine that's when this channel is really going to start getting – I'm going to pump a lot of content in. And I would imagine you guys are going to assume a lot of the content. So I'm excited about that. And I'm about to jump into the next position group. Jack, I'm going to read your comment first, though. I feel the same way about the safeties you thought about the linebackers. Lots of talent, but little experience. You know, Jack, I respect it. Because I would say, as high as I am on Cole Bishop, I do understand that he's not a lock. Like, he's very good at stuffing the run, but becoming great at coverage is not easy. Like, coverage is probably, like, you know, as a guy that played DB for, 6-7 years, it is very hard to cover very athletic people. Like, if you're not good at it already, like, to think that one offseason could make you great at it, it's tough. But I would also say this, Jack, we've got proven talent in there, right? A few guys that are proven talent, J.P. Pearson and Clayton Isbell. I know they're transfers and they haven't played at the D1 level yet, but they're pretty damn good transfers. So that's how I'd say about that, because for me, it's a lot more proven talent than linebacker. But I do appreciate the observation, and I respect what you're saying, Jack. All right, so now let's talk about a fun one here. Let's talk about the tight end group. A lot of talent in here. I think it's almost surprising how many tight ends are on this freaking roster. There's a lot of tight ends on here. All right, let's go ahead and throw that up. So tight ends, let's look at the first guy. So this guy is a tight end / fullback. He's going to play fullback, though. I feel pretty confident saying that. It's Logan Kendall, 6'3", and he is 263 pounds. This is the guy that has the nickname the Rhino, Logan the Rhino Kendall. Very good run blocker. If you guys want a fun tape to watch and you have not watched it, please go on the channel after this video and watch Logan Kendall's tape. He runs people over, guys. He is a machine. I made the comment in the video that I've never watched a video where there were so many pancakes in a video that it became boring to watch the pancakes. It was 10 minutes of pancake after pancake after pancake that it almost became monotonous. You were like, geez, nobody can compete with this kid. And that's at the 1AA level, like this for sure. But I mean, there's tape of him against D1 guys, and he's running them over too. So I would imagine he's absolutely starting fullback, and I can only imagine what it is going to look like watching Tavion run through the holes that he creates. So that should be a lot of fun. We'll line up. Jack says, I wonder how he'll line up, how will Ludwig utilize Kendall alongside it. I honestly think he might be lined up at tight end sometimes. I think there's going to be a lot of motion inside of fullback, if not just lined up right at fullback. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I think he'll play a fullback role, but how are they going to get him, move him around the field, motion him? So we'll see how that goes. All right, so the next tight end is going to be Thomas Yasmin. 6'5", 251 pounds. Junior has been on the team for 4 years, so has some time to really learn the system, learn the role. Didn't really get a lot of action last year, was a reserve tight end. He's out of Sydney, Australia, so he was like a project player, but he's had a lot of time to learn the ropes of football. So I would imagine with this guy, solid depth piece. Not that I think he sucks or anything. It's just like this. We have such a good tight end room. You don't want this guy to see a ton of reps. All right. The next guy is going to be who is it? Sire Wood, 6'2", 239 pounds. He played at Penn before playing at Utah. He's out of Long Beach, California. Played for Utah for 1 year. Probably another depth guy, a guy you wouldn't love to see the field unless needed. All right, and then we have Isaac Vaha, so 6'6", 268 pounds, redshirt freshman, 3-star recruit, number 7 recruit in the state of Utah, out of Pleasant Grove. Another guy, solid depth piece. Hopefully he's not seeing too much playing time, but he sounds like he could be pretty good. I mean, if he's looking good, maybe he'll be a breakout type of guy. All right, and now the next guy is Taniela Pututau. We got all the Pututaus up in here. 6'3", 246 pounds, redshirt freshman, 2 years in the system. So a guy that, another solid, think about how many of these guys are solid depth pieces. I know if you're like their friends or family listening, you might think that sounds like I'm dismissing them. It's saying you're a solid depth piece is like saying you're a good backup. It's like if you need to see the field, you're not going to be a liability. That's a compliment. So I like how much depth is at this linebacker room. At the tight end room. All right. Next guy, Landon Morris. So Landon Morris transferred over here from Syracuse, 6'5", 231 pounds, 3-star recruit. A guy that I would expect, he was a wide receiver, I think, and he transitioned to tight end to come over here. A guy that might not be a every down guy because we have Brant Keithy, Logan Kendall, and Dalton Kincaid. But I would imagine how I look at Landon Morris is he's a really good backup and should be the guy to take Dalton Kincaid's place once Dalton Kincaid leaves. All right. Boom. All right. Next guy, Munir McClain, 6'4", 229 pounds. In 2021, he saw action in 2 games, Weber State and Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. I do remember seeing this guy take the field. Another guy, solid depth piece, maybe get some rotational action, especially because he saw some action last year. All right. Next guy is the one and only Brant Keithy. Hot damn. Probably one of the best players on this team. 6'2", 219 pounds. Been on the squad for 4 years. Been tearing it up since he got here. Going to be a key piece of this offense in the passing game, but also runs the ball. We give him tight end reverses. If you don't already know who Brant Keithy is, the first Utah game you watch next year, you'll probably know his name. All right. The next guy is going to be Dalton Kincaid. So Dalton Kincaid is 6'4", 240 pounds. Now, this is a really good player for the Utes. He's different than Brant Keithy. Where Brant Keithy does a lot of different things really well. Dalton Kincaid is no liability in any area, but he is an exceptional receiver. His receiving grades for PFF are really high all the damn time. Really tall, really fast, really athletic guy that can stretch the field and make people pay if they put a linebacker on him. He's the type of tight end you need to put a corner or a safety on, and a good safety, like a coverage safety. And one of the better players on the Utah team in general. All right, and then we got 2 guys left here. So Devin Johnson, 6'4", 240 pounds, tight end, walk on last year. Another guy, probably don't want to see him get too much playing time, but probably wouldn't be a terrible depth piece if absolutely needed, right? All right, and then the final guy for tight end is going to be Hayden Erickson. Hayden Erickson, 6'2", 249 pounds. Exact same story as the last guy. Walk on last year. Hopefully he doesn't see a ton of playing time, but a good depth piece all the same. Jack says Kincaid is a matchup nightmare. Yeah, Kincaid really is a matchup. Straight up, if you're a coach that has to scheme against, like a D coordinator that has to scheme against these tight ends, that's got to be like seriously a bad time. That's like it's the best tight end room in the country for damn sure. Like I don't think that's controversial to say that, but I also think more than anything, it's like if you're playing Utah, it's probably such an imagine you have to go in there, you go in the film room, and you see this offensive line throw people around, Tavion Thomas running over people in the open field. And then there's a bunch of tight ends stacked up. So you think, okay, let's go ahead and we're going to want to stack the box, 8 in the box. Then you find out that these tight ends are straight animals and can go downfield and catch the ball and can run reverses and make plays with the ball in their hands. What do you do? I mean, honestly, this Utah offense, everyone talks about this defense, like hopefully the offense is good. It's like, dude, this offense is going to be a nightmare. And then on top of everything I just mentioned, you're going to have Cam Rising at quarterback. Wild. So anyways, though, so now let's go to the final position group, guys. Final position group is a really fun one and one that I've been excited to talk about. It's wide receiver. So a wide receiver, we got a bunch of talent. This coaching staff, they looked at their team. They said, you know what? It's not working right now. What we have, it doesn't work. We need to go ahead, get the needle, and inject as much talent into this wide receiver room as humanly possible. And they did a really good job. I think Jackson's well said. Yeah, that's really how I feel. That's how I feel about this offense. But anyway, so this wide receiver room is looking awesome. It's young. It's a lot of talent, similar to the linebacker room, right? I feel like you got a couple guys that you're hoping you'll see something from, but let's be realistic. Those guys haven't been killing it. Like they haven't been stars yet. We're projecting they will be stars, but to be clear, I'm optimistic about this team, this room this year, because of the fact that they put so much talent into it that there's gotta be someone that steps up at receiver. Even the freshmen, someone has to say like, hey, I'm better than all these guys. I'm going to go show it. Like I'm ready to go. Larry said offensive looking stellar. Yeah, absolutely. But without any further ado, let's start looking at these wide receivers. First guy, Devon Vele. I kind of hinted at him a second ago. 6'5", 205 pounds, wide receiver out of San Diego. Started saw action in 14 games, 7 starts, 23 receptions for 389 yards. The bright spot is that it was a heavy running team, and he was averaging 16.9 yards per catch. Felt like anytime Devon got a pass, it was a big play. And this is the thing with Devon. I feel good about the fact that he is going to be a 500-plus yard receiver this year, and he will be a good weapon for the Utes. My only concern is the people that are acting like it is a guarantee that Devon Vele is going to go out there and be one of the best receivers in the Pac-12. I think he's good, to be fair. I hope people aren't overestimating what he's going to do this year. And I know a lot of you guys think I sound like, the bearer of bad news, but I'm just being real with you guys. It's like if Devon Vele gets over 500 yards, I'm not surprised. I think it's going to happen. Could Devon Vele get over 700 yards? Absolutely. That's a possibility. Probably a little more unlikely, but definitely could happen. Could Devon Vele get under 300 yards? I'd say the odds that he gets over 700 and the odds that he gets under 300 are pretty similar. I know that's not what people want to hear, but that's really how I feel, and I hope he kills it. But I feel like a lot of people are acting like we have a locked-in number one receiver when it's not clear that we do. Hopefully we do. All right, next guy is going to be Chris Reed. So Chris Reed was my first ever recruiting breakdown video, 6 foot, 192 pounds. A really good player, Chris Reed. No flaws. Like straight up, he's very, very good. Very, very good player. He does a lot with the ball in his hands. He does a lot going downfield. A guy that's could be an unspoken hero, and I think more than any of the other freshmen, could be like he doesn't. He's very polished. I don't know if he has the same ceiling as some of the other guys, but he is very polished and could definitely come in and make an impact if he had to, or at least be like a solid backup if he does need to see the field. All right, the next guy at wide receiver is Money Parks. So Money Parks, 5'10", 170 pounds. Saw action in 12 games, started against USC, 12-yard receiving touchdown against USC. So this guy is a small, really fast wide receiver. If you guys don't remember Money Parks, definitely a guy that I would expect to find his way into some sort of rotation this year. And another guy that could be a breakout type of guy, right? Another guy that could do that. I think this is going to be our longest live stream ever, fellas. I hope you guys are having fun. All right. Larry says, I believe Sydney in Banasaur, probably spelled that wrong, is going to surprise. I heard he's tearing it up at fall camp. I have heard that as well, and people let me hear it when I didn't put him on my top 5 impact freshmen. But hey, more power to him. I mean, that's kind of what I'm touching on there too, Larry. It's like there's so much talent that was injected into this receiver room that the coaches are saying, like, hey, if it doesn't happen, we're going to go ahead and pat ourselves on the back either way because we did everything we possibly could to get talent into this room. So I think they've done a great job of bringing in talent. I don't know what else you could expect from them. Michael says, I'm hoping the receiving group is motivated by all the talk of them being the weakest link in the offense. Yeah, for sure. And like I said, there's so many guys in here that have that could pop, that who knows who jumps from the group, right? Because I feel like everyone's just talking about Devon. I mean, there's a lot of other guys in here. So next guy, Pierre Mudoru. He's a walk-on from 2 years ago, a depth piece. You probably aren't insanely excited if he hits the field, but probably not a liability with a couple of years of experience, right? All right, the next guy is going to be Jet Miney. So if you guys aren't familiar with Jet Miney, he's from Corner Canyon High School. I want to show you guys this. 75 catches for 1,450 yards and 15 touchdowns his senior year, averaging 103.6 yards per game. Corner Canyon is one of the best football schools in Utah, if not the best football school in Utah. It is like right up there. And, it's studs at this school. And he was playing with, I forget the guy's name, Devin Mack or something like that, but a really high touted quarterback. And if that guy's willing to trust this guy with, that type of volume, Jet Miney is very good. I think he's a walk-on. And honestly, he must have wanted to play at Utah to be a walk-on at Utah. Oh, I still have tight ends banner up here. The wide receivers. If you guys haven't watched Jet Miney's tape, please do watch it. He is very talented, and he's probably more of an outlier to be a guy right this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets some reps this year and becomes a playmaker for the Utes a year or two down the line. So definitely a good player there. All right, next guy is going to be Sydney and Banasaur. So Sydney and Banasaur is huge, 6'5", 216 pounds. I guess he's been killing it at spring camp. I mean, there's been some big highlights, so it's hard for me to touch on it. I thought Sydney and Banasaur looked just fine. I wasn't in love with the tape. I didn't dislike it. I thought he showed signs of being a really good player, but there was a smoothness to his athletic ability that I didn't see there. But who knows? Maybe he's killing it and he'll be a big-time impact player. I wouldn't be absolutely shocked, but I would be a little surprised if he was killing it as much as people are making it out to be. Masaki Kudo, was a walk-on last year. He's from Japan. How cool is that? Redshirt freshman, so he's got a year of experience. Probably not a guy you'd love to see the field right away, but if he had to be a depth piece, is what it is. All right, and then let's go ahead and go to the next guy, Makai Cope. This is a guy I'm excited about. So Makai Cope, 6'3", 195, looked really good in the spring game. Saw action in 2 games. And I would say he's probably my favorite to be like the number 3 receiver, if not, fight for that number 2 receiver spot. All right, next guy, Tao Johnson. Guy I'm a big fan of. I think he's a very talented player, 6 foot, 184 pounds, blazing speed, played quarterback in high school, 10.82 in the 100-meter dash. And the field speed is real. This isn't just track speed. I mean, he is very fast, and he moves really well. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to find creative ways to get him into the offense. I would be surprised if he were to get one of those top 1 or 2 receiver slots, but you never know what can happen. All right, and then with that, let's go to the next guy. Boom. All right, Tyquan Gilmore. So Tyquan Gilmore, 5'11", 180 pounds. So this is a guy that is a transfer coming to Utah, really good returner and a really good receiver. So this is a guy that I think they're bringing him in to fight for a starting spot. Like, this is another example of a guy that's a real solid receiver, proven in college. They're bringing him in and saying, all right, go earn your spot. You want to be a great receiver. You want to play D1 football. Go earn the spot. This is a guy I would not be shocked at all if he wins one of those 3 spots before it's all said and done. All right, next guy. All right, Solomon Enos. So 6'3", 206 pounds. Has 14 starts, 44 career games played. Originally was a 4-star recruit. It's tough with this guy. You get excited about a 4-star recruit. But the thing about Solomon Enos is it just feels like it's not there. Whatever that magic spark is that needs to be there doesn't feel like it's there with Solomon Enos. I remember, I forget which game it was, if it was the spring game or what, but he caught a pass and he's right at the first down. And instead of just trying to push forward to get the first down, he runs backwards a yard or 2 and then winds up not getting the first down. I mean, and he's one of the oldest guys on this team, so weird to me. Jack says supposedly Enos is having a good camp. Yeah, and I'm not shocked that he is having a good camp, but I also think, at camp it's easy to catch passes. Like, you get open, you catch a pass. This guy, he doesn't do much after the catch. I am not the biggest Solomon Enos fan in the world. He seems like a great guy. And could be one of the best receivers right now. I just feel like there's a lot of young guys that have a little more explosiveness and exciting ability to them that could do more with those reps. But maybe he is very dependable. He does catch the ball, right? So Colin Edwards, 6 foot, 165 pounds, freshman walk-on wide receiver. Another guy, depth, but hopefully he doesn't see too many reps unless he's just killing it. So next guy, Jalen Dixon, 5'9", 170. This guy saw a little bit of action last year, 76 yards, 5 catches, and a touchdown. A guy that hopefully he blossomed a little over the offseason and could start to, be more of a playmaker. He's had a lot of years on the team. He's been here since 2017, and he's played a lot for the Utes. Who knows what he looks like this year? I wouldn't be surprised if he's some sort of rotational piece. All right, and here we go. There's 2 guys left. So this is a name to watch. Luca Caldarella. So Luca Caldarella, 6'3", 194 pounds. A guy that has very good tape. He's a transfer out of Cerritos College. Very good tape. I broke it down. I would not be shocked at all if this guy was able to fight his way into one of those top 3 spots. And I think you guys will notice a recurring theme here. There's a lot of kids that are going to be on the team this year, probably 8 to 10, that could work their way into one of these starting 3 spots, if not starting 4 or 5. There's a lot of talent that got brought onto this team, a lot of new talent, a lot of talent that's had a year to develop. So it's very, very exciting. A guy like Luca Caldarella, I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of them. Well-rounded receiver, athletic, physical. So keep an eye on him. All right. Final guy is Noah Benet, 6'4", 208 pounds. 2021 was his first year. Didn't see any action. Hopefully, after a year developing, maybe he could be a good depth piece. All right. So that is the list, guys. We did it. An hour and 50 minutes later, we have done the entire list of all the players on the Utes roster. I am exhausted. But with that, real quick, guys, let's talk about some of these position groups. Like I said at the end, I wanted to just quickly talk about which position groups, which two I thought were the best position groups and which two I thought were the weakest position groups. And honestly, I don't think it is the position groups I went into it thinking. I don't know about you guys. The reason I wanted to do this, I knew this was going to be a trek, right? I knew this would take a long time. I didn't know it would take quite this long, but I knew this would take a long time. And for me, some of these position groups looked really good. Larry says, great long show. Hey, Larry, well, thanks for being here the whole show, man. I appreciate it a lot. Larry, always love having you here, man. But with that, so the first position group that I'm going to put as one of my strongest position groups is going to be tight end. I think I had an inkling that it might be tight end, but I wasn't positive. For me, tight end is awesome. It's a really good group. The high end is really good. The middle's pretty damn good. And as we went through that low end, I mean, even at the low end, it's like a lot of guys that have a couple of years on the team and probably wouldn't be horrendous if they had to play. So for me, tight end, and obviously we have one of the best tight end rooms in the country. So how could it not be tight end is one of the two? And then, so I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'd say there's actually three groups that probably vie for that next spot, right? Like who's the second best group. And so all three of these groups are in contention. It's safety. Jack, I know you didn't agree with me about the safeties, but for me, I think the safety room's really, really good. But like we talked about earlier, maybe it doesn't have the high end, right? Maybe it doesn't have the high end. The other group is offensive line. Actually, there's four. Sorry. So tight end, offensive line, running back, and quarterback. You were right, Larry. Those are the groups I was about to say. Yeah, like Larry said. So, and you know what? As you put it up there, Larry, I'm going to change my mind a little bit. I actually think quarterback is going to be the next best room. So I think it's running back's very close, offensive line's very close, but quarterback would be the next best room. So quarterback is our second strongest position group, which is definitely not a bad sign. I mean, you guys think about it seriously. It's like, okay, so Cam Rising goes down. I don't even like talking about it. Nightmare scenario. Bryson Barnes, Jaquindon Jackson, Nate Johnson. Any of the we can get all the way down to our fourth guy, and I feel like we have a solid starter. I feel like that's a good sign of that being a really strong position group. All right, there we go, Jack. Now we're meeting in the middle. Jack says, I think the safeties have a higher ceiling this year than linebackers. Love it, Jack. Love it. Larry says, nice problem to have. Yeah. We have so much talent on that freaking offense, dude. Like, look at that, Larry. You named our top four position groups, and they were all on offense. And so did I. I agree with you. They're all on offense. The defense is good, too. But this offense is, honestly, I feel like people, like, you ever hear these commentators on, like, ESPN or something talk about how, like, oh, Utah, they have a good defense. Hopefully their offense can meet them in the middle this year. And it's like, yo, did you watch Utah last year? Like, the defense was great. The offense was amazing. Like, once Cam Rising took over, like, what was it? Right after the USC game, it was like the wheels were rolling. Like, you better come correct if you're going to try to take this offense on. The only team that beat us was Oregon State and Ohio State, and those were just really high-powered offenses that ran up the scoreboard. It wasn't that the offense didn't – no one was stopping the offense. Our offense was running up the board on every team. All right, now two weakest positions. So two weakest positions. Let me take a second to make sure that I think about it and don't just throw a position group out there. So I'm going to go linebacker as one. I know nobody agrees, or some of you guys might agree, but I just got to keep it honest with you guys. I don't think linebacker has anyone like where I find with Cole Bishop, I feel confident he's going to be a good player and hopefully take that next step in his coverage. I can't say that about Karine Reed or Karine Reed. It's different. It's like Karine Reed has more steps to take and doesn't have the high end that Cole Bishop has. And I don't think there's anyone else in the linebacker group I feel supremely confident about the way I do for Cole Bishop. So I'm going to say that linebacker is going to be one of them. And then, yeah, Larry, so receiver would be the other. So little different than what you have, Larry, because I actually have a lot of faith in Dan Fillinger, Junior Tafuna, Chase Kennedy, Kale Akana. Like I really like that some of the high end of that group. So for me, it's linebacker and it's wide receiver. And to be clear, these are probably like good groups on most teams in the Pac-12. Just so you guys know, like these are not bad groups. They're just very volatile groups. So you're not sure exactly what you're getting out of them. So that's how I look at it, guys. Hey, and on that note, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. I know I really enjoyed making this, and this is fun. I'm glad we got a big audience in here tonight. If you guys haven't already, please do like the video. And if you don't already, please subscribe to the channel. I do this every Friday. And as we get into the season, we're going to keep pumping out more videos, and we're going to have a ton of fun, guys. And please comment below what you guys thought of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Even if you didn't agree, I hope you enjoyed the video. And please share the video. Like I said, the number one thing you could do, like I don't ever ask you guys for money or anything like that. Like the number one thing you guys could do is share the video. So retweet it, share it on your favorite Utah football Facebook group, whatever that is to you guys. Show it to one of your friends that likes Utah football. I think a lot of us football fans like long form content. And I'm one of the only guys doing it for Utah football. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm out. Boom. I'll put you guys' last comments up here. Yeah. I'm not going to talk anymore about it. I'm out. All right. Good night, guys. Have a fun weekend.